Hey, it's Stephen. So, some further thoughts on this idea of Melchizedek as a spirit of priestly intent, I suppose. Spirit of priestly intention. Yeah. And yeah, I'm really taken by the idea that it's coming into Noah through the dove with the olive branch. And for an additional thing, I was wondering about is, that olive branch. If it had an olive on it, and Noah planted the olive, he would have an olive tree. And if he harvested the olives and pressed the fruit, and we know he can press fruit because he's the first one to make wine. So what if he does the same with the olives and he gets the olive oil? And the olive oil is used in Christian worship to imbue. Well, we imbue it with incense and aromatics, and we use it as a chrism. So we use it as when you're baptized, the Holy Spirit comes into you through the application of this aromatic olive oil that's been blessed. And the oil sinks into your skin in a way that it can't easily be removed. And so that's the idea of the Holy Spirit is sinking into you in a way that can never be removed. And it has this beautiful aromatics to it. So olive oil is what's used as the basis for the oil of chrism, for the baptismal rite of the passage or the descent of the Holy Spirit into you as it went into Christ through John the Baptist. So and we from Jubilees, from Enoch. So if you go into the apocryphal stuff, we know that Noah also has this sort of apothecarial activity or medicinal, is able to discern medicines. He's been given that knowledge from angels. And I haven't read a lot of those apocryphals, and I don't plan on it. But anyway, so Noah has a lot of these talents, right? He took the best part of that previous world that had gone so bad and brought it into the restart after the flood. And part of it was medicine, and part of it was was the knowing how to properly build an altar and how to properly sacrifice to God. But what about and to make wine, right? So he's it goes wrong because he's supposed to offer the best part of that wine on the altar, but he doesn't. He drinks it and he gets drunk, and here we go again with the cycle of everything going wrong and leading to Babel. So it's like but the die is cast because God has given his covenant, right? So God can't wipe it out again, and he has to run with it. But I think that this spirit of priestliness that comes through the dove is adding into a knowledge, a technological, so a techne of medicinal, apothecarian kind of a discernment of medicine, and that's that's a dosing thing. That's an idea of a little bit of something is good, but a lot of it is bad. So medicines are all toxic. At some point, you have to know the effective dose. And there's some idea of effective dose in the worship idea too. There's an effective range that is the ideal. There's an effective dosage. So there's this very incarnated the plants and animals you can derive medicines from them, and then you can offer the plants and animals and medicines back unto God. And the ideal way of doing that is those plants and animals and medicines in their raw form. So olive oil, I think, is a good example of a medicine in a raw form. It's a healing. It can bring medicinal activity into you if you imbue olive oil with a medicinal content and rub it on. The olive oil coming into your skin pulls the medicine into your skin. In the same way that the olive oil with the proper aromatics can bring God's attention into you in the form of the Holy Spirit and in the Christian practice of baptism. I really like that. So this the spirit of priestliness combined with this techne of the best of the previous world going into the church, into the ark, and sailing off to the new Jerusalem, to the new world. There's so many parallels. So then, in my thinking, the spirit of Melchizedek, of priestly intent, gets passed on to Abraham down in Ur when Abraham, 400 years later, 500 years later. Noah's still alive. Noah lives 950 years. So, and he passes the knowledge of the priestly intent to Abraham. And then Abraham properly tithes, gives back, right, of his worldly goods to the spirit of priestliness. And in this case, maybe the priestliness spirit of Melchizedek is actually inside a real person. There's this idea that it's in Shem, Noah's son. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know that it matters. But there's a point in the not the apocryphal, but in Genesis where it's written that Abraham is interacting with Melchizedek, and Melchizedek has no genealogy, but the spirit of priestliness would not have a genealogy. And whether or not Melchizedek was also a real person with a genealogy, I don't know. But maybe that idea of no genealogy is simply the concept of priestly intent is not a genealogical thing. It's I guess it's taught originally to Noah by divine decree through the dove, and Abraham by learning 38 years in Noah's house, learning how to be a priest in Ur. So in my but then we think of from then on that Melchizedek idea becomes an inherent. It becomes no longer a thing, but it becomes remembered. We remember through the genealogy the order of the Melchizedek, of the priestly intent, going back to the beginning. So this well, not called apostolic, but this property is a passive property. It's no longer active. The Melchizedek priestly intent was active in Noah. Was it active when Noah gave it to Abraham? I'm saying it is. But then it's no longer after that. We have this priestly line of Isaac and Jacob and on. But I don't think we think of it as a thing, as a spirit that's inhabiting, as a spirit of intent. So my contention is that goes off with Ishmael. That Ishmael, the firstborn son, would gain the spirit of priestliness. Of course, he's an illegitimate son, so what does that mean? But of course, Ishmael is banished with his mother Hagar. They go off into the desert. They're in dire straits. But Ishmael has this spirit of priestly intent, and God has sympathy. and sends down his angel to either create or to discover, doesn't matter which, a well from which they can get water and they can survive, and they can move on to found the 12 tribes of the Arabs, sort of. So there's that mirroring of the 12 tribes of Jacob and the 12 tribes of Ishmael. That's nice, right? There's also a daughter in there, so there's 13. So I like the number 13 a lot. So that's nice for me, I guess. But anyway, I have this idea that then it's no longer thought of. In Islam, it's no longer thought of. The spirit of priestly intent of Melchizedek is not a thing. So I'm saying that spirit is also this incarnated thing. It incarnates in Noah, passed on to Abraham, passed on to Ishmael. But then it leaves Ishmael at the formation of the well, and maybe it goes back into the earth, which is also God's creation. So that spirit of priestly intent, which is to offer unto God gods, goes into the earth, which is where we derive everything that we offer unto God at that point, all the offerings. This is before Christ. This is before we're offering Christ. So the whole world is God's creation, and any part of it that hasn't been manipulated becomes something that is an offering. So the idea of priestly intent applies to everything in the world, right? The world is God's creation. So that priestly intent abandons Ishmael for whatever reason. Its time is done, its era has passed, and instead of going back up to God, it goes into the earth to offer unto God the earth, the entire earth. Yeah, so that's entirely speculative, right? This is not a thing, but entirely speculative. But I like it. This. It's the purity of what's supposed to be done rubbing off onto Noah through that altar activity that strikes me so much in the Genesis chapter. And then on to Abraham, which is obviously a huge point, because then the genealogy of having interacted with Melchizedek passes all the way on in Christianity until Christ is born, all the way on until Zechariah and Simeon and John the Baptist and Mary Theotokos. But passed on as a sort of a remembrance, like a remembrance of that thing that happened to Abraham. Well, what happened to the real spirit of priestliness? Well, it drops into the well created by the angel of God to save Ishmael, and to show that the entire world should be offered as an offering unto God. Yeah. So that's that. Thanks.